The phablet category is getting quite the love from phone makers this season, and Acer is throwing a horse in the race with this phone here too, following in the footsteps of companies like Sony or Huawei, which also made their first phablets this year. This is Daniel from PhoneArena presenting you the Acer Liquid S1. Its specs are decidedly in the lower mid-range category, with an HD screen and a MediaTek processor, but Acer made available a dual SIM version of the S1 as well, in the hope it will attract some more big screen phone fans to an otherwise run-of-the-mill plastic 5.7-incher. Did Acer succeed with its first phablet, or next time will be the charm? Let's see. Despite the all-plastic shell and the same screen size, a Note 3 the Acer Liquid S1 is not. The thick bezel, shoddy plastic used all around, and the unusually heavy 6.88 ounces, 195 grams, hint that Acer isn't pulling all stops with this device, but rather just testing the phablet waters and its ability to swim there. The plastic chassis gives the phone a cheapo feel, as the back cover is not even soft touch or polycarbonate, and the side rim has also two silver strips that are supposed to imitate metal, but fall far short. The physical keys that are raised above those strips are still too flush with the sides to be comfortable to find and press without looking, and have a flimsy feel to them, as well as a very shallow feedback. The curved backs help somewhat with handling, but the handset is so big that the one-handed operation is still out of the question, since Acer isn't providing thumb-friendly options to shrink the dialer or keyboard left or right. You have to use both hands with the Liquid S1 the vast majority of the time. You can access the two micro SIM card slots by prying off the back cover and taking out the battery. This gives you access to 3 slots that are just above the battery compartment, 2 for the SIM cards and 1 micro SD slot for adding storage. There is 1 extra back cover in white color provided in the box should you get bored of the all black looks, but since the sides and front will stay black, it's not a pretty sight anyway. We get a 5.7-inch 720 by 1280 pixels LCD display on the Liquid S1 with the 258 ppi pixel density, and this panel is nothing to write home about either. Colors are too warm and somewhat pale, shifting with the slightest tilt of the phone along with brightness, which indicates poor viewing angles. The black levels are not as deep as on even average LCD screens, not to mention the OLED ones, so black actually looks grayish, diminishing the contrast number. This, together with the below-average brightness level, makes the Liquid S1 panel troubling for outdoor usage, especially in bright sunlight. Acer's phablet runs almost stock Android 4.2, with a few pre-installed apps thrown in for a good measure, like Acer Cloud, Acer Print, or Auto Profile. The devil is in the details, though, as the company offers what it calls Float UI on the Liquid S1. Long press the capacitive task key underneath the display and you will get shortcuts to 8 apps of your choosing, as well as a dock with 4 apps at the bottom you can float on top of every other screen you're working with at the moment. These floating windows include the notes, calculator, maps and camera apps, and you can have all 4 of them open at once in transparent, resizable windows that stack on top of each other for some added multitasking ability. An omission on tablet is the lack of a landscape mode. That's another thing Acer doesn't offer on the Liquid S1, and it's pretty helpful on phones with such big display. A quad-core 1.5 GHz MediaTek 6589 chipset with PowerVR 544 GPU is what makes the phablet tick. And this silicon has shown its weakness in many handsets already, sporting 4 frugal but not powerful Cortex A7 cores. MediaTek's creation is responsible for laggy interface, blurred scrolling, and choppy 3D games performance, while the 1 GB of RAM had some slow uploading times and unimpressive multitasking abilities. The Liquid S1 offers 8 GB of internal memory, of which only 4.5 gigs are user available, but you get an accessible memory card slot for expansion, so no complaints. The default mobile Chrome browser behaves surprisingly well in rendering, panning and scrolling, considering the lousy chipset. There are no checkered boxes visible. This, however, is achieved by not rendering the page in real time, rather blurring it during the motion, then rendering only after you stop moving with your fingers. Text reflow works well though, and since we have a 5.7-inch HD display, well, how bad can be mobile browsing on such a large screen to begin with? Acer Liquid S1 flown support for European Asian networks and HSP plus data download speeds. It also offers Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 3.0, GPS, FM radio, and that's that. A pretty basic set of wireless connectivity options. The stock Android Gallery and Play Music app are taking care of the visual and audible delights on the phone. There are photo editing functions built into the gallery interface, and you get a bunch of equalizer presets with the music player. So the basics are taken care of, though the interfaces are not as pretty as on some third-party apps. The loudspeaker is strong enough, housed in the handset's chunky body, but sounding harsh and relatively thin, with no distinct bass to speak of. Acer also offers a DTS surround sound mode in the settings, which in our opinion should be always on, as the sound without it comes out even flatter. The default video player runs MKV and XVAD files up to 1080p resolution without a problem, but DivX licenses are no-go, so you need to get a third-party app from the Play Store for playing DivX files. The stock player is rather basic anyway, with only an edit loop function for the videos and no extra options present. The 8-megapixel snapper on the back of the phablet sports an adjacent LED flash, while the phone also flaunts a wide 88-degree angle front camera that can fit more faces in your video chat frame. The camera app interfaces with a few shooting modes like HDR or panorama, and color effects you can apply to your photo or video. Shot times are almost instant, which can be set for the camera uploading duration, as it takes 2 or 3 seconds before you actually enter it from the lock screen, for example. Outdoors, the phone produces acceptable, albeit softish photos with colors slightly overblown. There are no white balance hiccups, but we get slight underexposure of photos in normal mode, which come out darker than what's in front of the lens in reality. Using the HDR mode will remedy this somewhat, though saving the photos will be much slower. The camera focus is rather sluggish and jittery, so you have to hold the handset extremely steady and your object shouldn't be moving at all for a non-blurred shot, especially indoors. When the light starts to dwindle, noise creeps into the pictures way more than it should, and we often get very blurry results. Video is captured in 1080p resolution with the fluid 30 frames per second, but goes underexposed and darker than it should be in reality, just like the stills. Acer's first phablet effort, the Liquid S1, is just that, an effort. The heavy and cumbersome design paired with weak chipset, subpar display and camera performance form an underwhelming Android device. For Acer's about €350, $460 asking price, you can get the Galaxy Mega 5.8, which has 2 SIM card slots as well. Samsung's handset has almost identical dimensions and weight, with slightly larger battery and more RAM, but sports lower screen resolution. If you're looking for a good value for money phablet, we'd suggest the Huawei Ascend Mate with its record large battery and stellar call quality, all for about the price of the Liquid S1. Alternatively, you can just splurge 100 more and get the Galaxy Note 2, whose dimensions and performance are much more bearable. It has a built-in stylus, frequent software updates, and last but not least, it has a much better resale value. This was a video review of the Acer Liquid S1 phablet from PhoneArena. For more information about this and other handsets, you can visit us at PhoneArena.com. Thanks for watching.